Welcome to Tech in the Car. I'm Oliver. This is the all-new Kia Niro EV. I've done a video on all the trims of Kia Niro at the UK launch, so check out those videos if you're interested in learning about all the other different models. But this is the EV full electric version, and I'm really interested to tell you all about this because last week I had the Kia EV6 GT. Now I've done videos on the other trims of the EV6, but to have these two cars back to back is a really interesting opportunity to talk about their differences, what I like about one over the other and what I may dislike. And little spoiler, I actually think this might be better to drive than the EV6 so far. Let's talk trims of the Niro EV. So the 2 starts at £37,000, 4 trim starts at around £42,000. These cars are very similar to the hybrid and non-hybrid versions, but the main difference is obviously this is a fully battery electric vehicle, which has a different range from the other cars. But in terms of looking at it from the outside, it will look very similar. I did do a video on the previous generation of the Niro EV, which was called the e-Niro, and I love that car. I also did a range test with the Tesla Model 3. I thought that was fantastic. So have they built on it with this version, this new version of the car? Well, let's talk design differences first of all. The first thing you'll notice is just like all of the new Niros, it's got this really cool looking 2-level light system. And you can see the 2 LEDs sat on top of each other with a very distinct daytime running light, which I think is very obvious that you have a Niro in front or behind you. But there are design differences. On the grille here, we've got a different design grille, and we've got the electric charger at the front. And you can see it lights up with 2 lights telling you the charge, and the charger ports are lighted up as well. That might seem like a really obvious thing, but lots of EVs have their charging ports in different places. And I actually think either forward or right at the back is the best place. This side where the petrol used to be on traditional ICE cars, I don't like that. I think that's a bit inconvenient because EV chargers don't sit at the side of the car. Unlike petrol, they normally sit in front. So getting them connected can be a bit more tricky. That is very cool, and I like there's a little way of judging it, and it's not a fancy opening mechanism here. You just press it as long as the car's unlocked and it will pop open. Let's talk Frunk. Now we've got this fetching plastic cover here which says eco technology. I don't know why it says that, but it does say that. And then when you open it up, we've actually got 20 litres of space here. Now what's really cool about this, one quirky feature, is there's actually a little light inside the front, so you can actually see what you're doing. This has got 20 litres of space, which is the same as the Kia EV6 GT, although it definitely looks like it's more than that. And there's even a little net in here, so there is definitely storage space for quite a bit in here. Obviously you can put all your charger wires in here. It's not very spacious, but at least there is a Frunk. I think Frunks are probably going to be something which we see less and less of in modern cars, as car manufacturers realize that maybe there's no need for them because there's plenty of space in the back. What do we get in terms of battery and range here? We get 285 miles WLTP from its 68.4 kilowatt hour usable battery with 201 horsepower and around 255 newton meters of torque. Now in terms of the side design, the Niro EV has a very interesting side design. Obviously it looks very much like any other Niro. The indicator lights on the wing mirrors here, they match the LED daytime running lights at the front. That's very cool. And as we move to the back here, this area here can be in a contrast color, which is a very distinct and unique feature of the Niro. And then we've got these little, I don't know, go faster kind of trim bits on the side of the rack door here. Other than that, this is a fairly traditional looking EV. At the back of this car, we have a very extended roofline spoiler, and then the lights at the back, the rear lights and the reflectors and the brake lights match the same design as the front daytime running lights, which I like. And then if we open up the car, obviously a fully electronic tailgate. We then have 475 litres of space here, including a false floor. Right now the tyre repair kit and the charger cable down there, but it is actually quite deep, and if you were to pull out this false floor, then you have a lot more space as well, which is a really nice thing that Kia have done. And there we go, we've now got a lower floor with a slight rise at the back here where you can slide your stuff through and put the back seats down. So convenience, yes. Is it the biggest boot? No, the EV6 GT actually had a bigger boot. The front wheels are 17-inch Continental wheels, which give a really comfortable ride when you're driving the car, which you'll find out about in a little bit when I drive it. But they're not the sexiest design of wheels, but they do the job. Welcome inside the front of the Niro EV. It's very familiar to anyone that's seen any of the other trim levels of the Niro. We've got the two screens here, digital driver display, and the infotainment system with wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. But then we've got nice features like along the bottom here, we've got these really cool lights which are integrated into the side here. In terms of convenience, we've got wireless charging here, which I absolutely love. We've got a 12 volt, we've got a standard USB, a USB Type-C. We've got heated and cooled seats and a reversing camera system as well. And then I love these hidden pop-out secret cup holders. They are very, very cool. They're a telltale sign of a Niro, and then we've got space under here as well. These seats are electric seats, unlike in the Kia EV6 GT, and they are very comfortable and very, very soft, and I'm very happy. We also have a head-up display too, and just like the EV6 GT, Kia have this cool thing where it will actually tell you if there's a speed camera or a traffic light camera on the head-up display as you approach it, so you can actually see it in real time. And this car also has assisted lane change, so it will actually change lane for you as well. So very cool, lots of technology in here which I really like. And we have a sunroof too, which lets lots of light into the car. It's a shame it's not a panoramic sunroof or a panoramic roof going all the way back, but we've got one and it's there. And then we've got our multi-mode selector here, which lets us move between temperature, climate control, and your maps and navigation. And this is a touch screen with actual physical buttons, which can be both, like I said, your climate and your media and your map and your navigation. Very clever way to save space inside the car. So how does this infotainment system work in this car? We have our EV settings, which let me see our range, how far it is to the charging point. Our vehicle to load, which lets us charge other things like your lights in your house, or maybe even your whole house if there's a power cut. And of course we have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay too. This is a very simple system to use, but I do have a full video showing you how it works on the channel, so check it out. So this is the steering wheel on the Kia Niro EV. We've got this no bottom section here, which is quite cool for holding. Looks a bit like a smiley face actually. And then we've got our buttons on the steering wheel. So we've got our mode buttons and our adaptive cruise control and safety system buttons. And then we've got our infotainment system, which is very nicely integrated, but not as nicely integrated as in the Kia EV6. It just seems to not quite be as big and as epic as in that car. Sitting in the back of the Niro EV, I've got tons of space. I'm 1.78 meters. I've got plenty of headroom, knee room. This seat actually moves back when you get out to give you more space and moves forward when you get in. So the actual seating position is more like here on the passenger seat. So there's actually even more knee room in front. There are two USB Type-C connectors on the seats in front here, but nothing down here. That's totally empty, but we do have a climate control vent. We have two cup holders here. If I put that down like that, and then we've got heated seats at the rear, which is very nice when you have heated seats. There's enough space for 3 adults in the back, although the middle would be a bit of a tight squeeze. So how does a Niro EV compare to the other Niros that I've driven and to the EV6 GT that I literally was driving last week? Well, it's very rare that you have the opportunity to drive two cars like this back to back and to have them for a week, so you actually get to know them a bit better. And the first thing I would say is I love the EV6 GT. It was super fast, super high tech, but I felt like in slippery conditions like today in the rain, it was lacking a bit of grip. When I turned my steering wheel, I felt like the tires were slipping a tiny, tiny bit. Now, that's not unusual in rainy weather, in bad weather. Obviously, the ground is slippery, but that's not happening in this car. This car feels rock solid, despite the weather conditions being actually worse than they were last week. I mean, just look at the rain on the windows. Entering the motorway now, let's have a look at how the automated driving systems work. So the speed limit is now 60. I'm going to turn on the adaptive cruise control and lane assist, set it to 60, and then once we're at 60, you can hear the car will essentially give me that okay that the lane assist is available and everything is working. Again, on the head-up display, I can see the cars around me. So it's a very stable, very reliable system, which works really well. You can see now the lane change assist has come up for saying it's available. So I'm now going to do a lane change, just to give you an example. So
I've got my hands on the steering wheel, I've got a green arrow on the head-up display, and that was the car changing lane by itself. I had my hands on the wheel, so it knows I've got safety control of the car, but it changed it quite happily without me having to do anything at all. So this car has tons of grip, tons of technology, it's very comfortable, the suspension is very supple, you don't feel the snaps in the road, you don't feel the bumps in the road, and it builds on the previous generation Kia e-Niro. Do I wish there was a bit more range? Yes, we're looking at about 250 miles of range in real world, but that's about par with everyone else, and it's more than the EV6 GT. If you're after a really good all-round electric car with all the latest safety features, all the latest technology, with decent performance and tons of space and a comfortable car, then Niro EV as an EV should definitely be on the list of cars that you check. Let's now test out the 0 to 60 time in this car and see how fast it really is. Big thank you to V-Box with the Performance Pro Touch. They've loaned me so I can test the performance of these cars. If you're after a performance meter, do check them out. Right, let's check the 0 to 60 time in this Niro EV. Go. So 9.8 seconds 0 to 60 in this Niro EV.
What do I think of the Niro EV? Well, we have a car which is incredibly comfortable to drive. Arguably, if I'm honest, feels like it has more grip than the EV6 GT, which is a performance car. We've got all of the luxury and technology you can want, and we're not sacrificing any space. This is, just like the previous Niro, an all-round package, which is fantastic. Yes, there are a few bits missing. There's no 360 camera available on these cars in this spec, unfortunately, but you don't necessarily need it, and it's got all the main things which you really would want in a car like this, and it starts at a fantastic price. Could the range be more? Yes, but I think in all honesty, with every car we could have more range. I think range for me is one of the biggest disappointments of all car brands right now. This car hits every other marker that every other competitor makes, but at a more valuable price point, and I don't think you can go wrong with one of these Niro EVs. Don't forget my previous video showing all the other trims of the Niro, the hybrid and the non-hybrid version on the channel. Please give me a like and subscribe for more on the channel. Thank you for watching.